Good afternoon. My name is Charles Scott from Civil Designer Software. Thank you very much for allowing the time to join us today, and welcome to this month's Open Classroom webinar, the 74th in our Civil Designer Software Open Classroom webinar series. Today's webinar is truly like no other, as instead of us focusing on existing functionality or new functionality in an existing module, we will be introducing a brand new integrated module, our 9th, and the new functionality included in this module called the Civil Designer Software Signage module. This module was conceptualized and developed from its very first line of code by Cassandra Naidu, a developmental team leader and colleague here at Civil Designer. Cassandra, along with a number of our industry partners, spent many long hours customizing this module, which now forms part of our integrated software suite, further enhancing Civil Designer as a truly integrated, comprehensive civil infrastructure design, analysis, and documentation BIM software application. There is so much information we have to share with you today, which I'm going to leave up to Cameron Boyle for now. Cameron, who many of you will know well from our support center, the many training courses he has facilitated over the years, and of course, our past webinars. During his time today, please feel free to use the text chat service in your GoToWebinar app or web page to ask us any questions you may have during his presentation. After today's webinar, we'll be posting a video copy of the event on our website in the webinar section for further review. So, good afternoon again, Cameron, and please take it away.
Thank you, Charles, and welcome everyone. I'm excited to be showing you the new Civil Designer Signage module. Civil Designer's road module allows graphical representations of signs and markings. The new signage module, however, adds intelligence to road signs, road markings, and linear road furniture. Signage objects are synced to a road design so that the position and geometry can be dynamically updated. This adds a new dimension to dynamic road signs and markings, saving you design time when it comes to redesigns and different design alternatives, giving access to an extensive library of signs and traffic signals, exporting to IFC information, also customizable quantity reports according to specifications. Introducing the new signage module to Civil Designer's already established, fully integrated design suite. I'm going to start off by giving you an overall idea of what the new suite is capable of doing. Thereafter, I'll go into more detail on the different functions and their customizable settings. Let's populate this junction with some signs and markings. So in front of us, we've got the new signs dialog. Straight away, you'll notice the old smaller signs have been replaced by these bigger static boards. I'll explain these settings below in more detail shortly. For now, let's select stop sign and then specify a signboard height above curb of 1.8 meters. Click on OK. Reading my prompt, it says indicate position of road sign and then indicate the direction. Once I've got it, I can right click and select quit. If I want to see what that looks like in the render view, I can click on the render view and press S. Next up, let's look at the road markings. When looking at road markings, they are classed into solid markings as well as linear markings. Solid markings would include the traverse markings, arrow markings, as well as customized markings. Let's first take a look at the solid, then the linear markings. Going to traverse markings, stop line. Specify that I want text associated with the stop sign. You can go and customize your dimensions and then click on the green tick. Specify your start and stop position. Civil Designer also gives you the tools to measure lane widths and marking offsets. As the stop text length is 5.5 meters, I've opted for a 6 meter gap. We first select a source point to find a gap from. Civil Designer then highlights the options available. Confirm option of choice and specify the second edge of carriageway. With the cursor, you can really customize the text position. Once inserted, right-click. I will discuss these paint settings in more detail shortly. As an additional example, let's go and put in a pedestrian crossing. We go to traverse markings, pedestrian crossing, and I'm going to go and select a type of skew. You could customize your dimensions, click on the green tick, specify the start point of your pedestrian crossing and then your end point. As I move my cursor, you'll see that the pedestrian marking follows. Once you're happy with the crossing, left click again and then a right click and quit. Let's get an update from our render view. Staying with solid markings, let's go and insert an arrow marking. I do this by going to Signage, Add Road Markings, Arrows, Warning, Mandatory Direction, Left Ahead Arrow. As I did before, I'm going to use the Find Lanes functionality where Civil Designer calculates the middle of my carriageway for me. I insert my first edge, my second edge, there's the middle point, and as I move my cursor, you'll see that the arrow follows. Once inserted, right click and quit. Moving on to linear markings. Select regulatory markings, left edge marking. If you do go and select the standard mode, Civil Designer would automatically insert a parallel line, in this case to the left edge of my existing road. Alternatively, you'll be happy to know that if you press Ctrl Z on your keyboard, the undo function will remove the previous marking. Having done that, if you press spacebar on your keyboard, the previous function is returned. This time I'd prefer to specify a start and end point. Using the existing markings, we are able to customize the marking dimensions. Once again, I click just to the right hand side of the left road edge display line. Using the keyboard shortcuts or particular snap modes, specify a start position, move the cursor, and the linear marking will follow the endpoint. Once done, right click and quit and get a render refresh. Last but not least, I'd like to insert some linear road furniture. Specify the furniture of choice, what mode you'd like to use, the post distance, click on the green tick, and in this case I'm then going to select a CAD entity. Right click and quit and getting a render refresh. If you'd like more details on how to insert road markings, please browse through our website's FAQ page under the Services section. Let's get some more insight on the road signs functionality. In order to do this, I'm going to switch on the geometry lines. Having done that, let's put in 2 additional signboards. Going back to the road mode, we have 5 different SADC files to choose from. Taking time to browse through the content, you can see that you are not limited to choice. We have a wide variety of options to choose from. We will take a closer look at the traffic signal symbols later on. For now, let's use the warning signs symbol file. If you are familiar with the symbol codes, you are able to do a filter search. This search is not case sensitive and previous entries are remembered. Typing in W407. The reason why I want to utilize this sign as an example is due to its length, which will be easier when explaining supports. At the bottom left, looking at the sign attributes and board settings, we are given the option to choose the size. Signboard material can be customized. Civil Designer gives you the option to add a material of choice, as well as to delete or rename existing material types. As previously mentioned, the height is measured from the top of the curb to the bottom of the signboard. Focusing in on supports, as we update the number of supports, the preview on the left will be updated. The offset refers to the spacing of the numerous supports. The diameter is the support post diameter. We are even given the option to create and customize the support material. Here the density of the material can be inserted. This density will be used for quantity purposes to calculate the mass of the material required. The signboard foundation used can also be customized for accurate quantity purposes. When changing the foundation type, the preview gives you an indication of what, for example, the continuous foundation type looks like. In addition to that, we are also presented with the option to change the ground cover, and that is the cover from the top of the foundation to the ground level, the foundation thickness, and lastly the foundation width. Making these changes updates the preview, so we are informed which of the dimensions we are updating. Closing the dialog and reading the prompt, we need to specify the position of the road sign. Pressing N and then Enter on the keyboard, and then specifying in which direction the road sign should face. I'm going to purposely face the sign in the wrong direction to show how this can be altered later on. As we want to insert another road sign, I'm going to right click and select Finish. Search for another sign, this time a W344. As the sign is smaller, I choose to have a single support. In that case, the offset value is ignored. Click on OK and specify position and direction of road sign. We are finished with inserting the signboards. Therefore, this time I'm going to select Quit when right-clicking. Let's update the rendering for verification. The two additional signboards appear, but what happens if changes are required? In that case, I'm going to select the left-hand side signboard and browse through the properties. On the top of the properties bar, note that this is now recognized as a road sign entity. Looking further down the list, the attribute name is the W407, which is the triple chevron that I specified earlier. The delta angle that can be edited, the targeting group indicates the road, and the road string name that the sign is associated to, the offset from the string, as well as what surface has been used for placement. The majority of the signboard, supports, and foundation information can also be updated if necessary. Still, with the signboard selected, the angle face is not quite correct. Taking a look at the delta angle under the properties bar, we can customize this and then verify if the update is sufficient. Signboard placement uses the road's model. If the road model extremity is not found, then a DTM surface is used. In order to explain this, take a look at the chevron foundation sticking out of the cut. This is due to all of these selected signboards using the natural ground DTM surface. Using the 3D graphical verification, we can update our designs and view alternative options. I'm going to release the selection of all the signboards, only select the chevron, and then change the DTM surface. A render refresh updates, and the foundation uses the alternative cut surface to determine the cover levels. If, for example, you'd like to change the height of the signboard, that too can be done under the properties bar. Selecting the appropriate signboard first, then making the height changes and observing the updated height. Let's close the render view for now and move on to linear markings. The objective here is to first put in the left road edge marking and then to change the road design using this transparent CAD polyline using the regression function, so that you can see how the existing road sign and marking gets updated. Before doing so, Civil Designer has the following linear markings to choose from. This includes regulatory, warning, guidance, as well as the option for custom markings. Returning back to our project, let's insert the left edge line. Once the line type of choice has been selected, you can now right-click to get the paint settings. Here you are presented with numerous preferred paint options to choose from. As with the signboards, you have the option to enter additional paint types, not forgetting the option to delete or rename existing types. The application paint rate and amount of retro-reflective beads will be used for quantity reports. Selecting the start and end point mode, leaving the other default values as is so that if need be, these values can be updated under the properties bar. Reading the prompt, then selecting the road display line. I'll click on any random start position, move the mouse, and then jump to the stop position. Right click, quit. Having inserted the marking, changes need to be made. Select the marking, right click, and select properties. Similar as per signboards, the entity is classed as a road marking entity. Under the attributes group, you are able to update the line width and view the dynamic total line length. Under targeting, the road and string name associated to the marking is listed. As can be seen here, the marking doesn't quite tie into the existing marking. I'm therefore going to update the start chainage value and specify an offset of 0.2 meters. Further down the list, the paint setting 2 can be updated. Releasing the selection, let's alter the road width to make provision for a bus lay-by. I'm going to make Victoria Road active by going to Section Graphical Edit function. Here, if need be, existing lane widths and crossfall grades can be checked. Closing the cross section, Victoria Road is now the active road. Going to Alignment, Regression, Extract Strings. We're working with the dual carriageway and want to edit the left edge string using this transparent CAD polyline. Click on OK and specify to retain the existing string slope crossfall. Select the polyline, right-click and extract. Civil Designer will then recalculate the road, updating the position of the signboard automatically. If you want the road markings to update, you have two options. You can either go to Signage, Add Road Markings, Recalculate. In that case, all the road markings in the project is updated. Alternatively, go to Properties bar. At the bottom, select Recalculate. The process is quick and the display is updated accordingly. At any stage, the road signs and road marking quantities can be checked. As with the other road quantities, this is achieved by going to Area Volume and selecting Road Signs. Here you can specify where the results must be shown. In this case, I specify the output bar. Taking a look at the sign quantities, on the top we have the signboard count, then we have the signboard material classed in different categories, and at the bottom we have the signboard support mass and lengths. Going back to area volume, this time selecting road markings. The paint type of the solid and linear is quantified. This includes lengths, areas and volumes. In addition to this, you can go back to area volume, report quantities. Expand the road of choice, place the cursor at the markings group, right-click and select Recalculate for the latest quantities. As previously mentioned, the markings are divided into linear and solid. The linear can be viewed in many different formats. For example, by right-clicking, you can select List individually, where all the individual markings are listed together with color, width, gap lengths, if applicable, and finally total lengths. Alternatively, if you right-click again, there are many additional options of choice, like description, paint type, paint color, and width. You still have the usual options to write, to file, and print. The same applies to solid markings, where you can right-click with the previously mentioned options. Civil Designer also gives us a paint section. This includes both linear and solid paint quantities. Moving on to the signs report, with the combined option selected, all combined volumes including the board material, support posts and foundation volumes are listed. Looking at the individual sign quantities. Done with this project for now. I'm going to close the output bar and then move on to the next project. In front of us, we've got our highway design. The objective here is to change a PI, a horizontal PI point, and then we'll see how the marking is updated from this section to that section. First of all, let's zoom in and go and put in our own customized road marking. I'm going to make this red so that we can distinguish the new road marking from the existing road markings. Then we go to signage, add road markings, linear markings, and custom. I'm going to select a mode of standard because I want to specify my own change range. I'm going to change the line width to 150 mils. The line length is 2 meters and the gap between the lines is 7 in this case. I'm going to specify an offset of 4 meters. Click on the green tick to update the information, and reading my prompt I need to indicate the polyline for the road strings. I'm then zooming quite a bit. Hopefully you can see that the selected line is highlighted, and using this information I'm going to strategically place my cursor in the right place and go and left click. The new line is added. I can then right click and quit. Let's take a closer look at this line. Going to where I want to start the line change, I'm going to select it, right click, go to properties like we did before, taking a look at the attributes, the targeting information, and then specify my own start and end change range. The display of the new marking is updated. Next up, let's go and change the HPI position and see how these new markings are dynamically updated. I'm going to select the road, taking note of where the existing road edge is positioned, and then I'm going to take PI3 and move it. Once I'm happy with the position, I can press escape. Civil Designer will then go through the recalculate process. In some cases, using different software programs, you might have to redesign the road. In this case, you go through the recalculation process using the road expert. Bearing in mind that we've got many roads joined to this main highway. The process is complete. Zooming into the road, you can see the PI has been shifted, but our road marking is not. So selecting the road, going to our properties, and selecting recalculate. The position of the markings have been updated, and just pointing out that the road has shifted. Now that I've explained the functionality, I'm going to change my road marking color. To end off with, moving on to traffic signals. In order to explain this, let's open up the render view, changing the zoom view and turning on the lights. The objective here is to insert 2 traffic symbols at this junction. As we did in the previous example, we go to signage, add road signs, and this time go and select traffic signals. To start off with, I'm going to browse through the different options and go and select the S9. The display is updated and then changing the size so that we can all see it. I'd like to use other material. I'm going to change the support material to steel, and I'm happy with the foundation information. Reading my prompt, it says indicate position of road sign and then specify in which direction it should face. Happy with that one, right click and finish. Moving on to the next one, I'm then going to select the S1 option. Click on OK. Again, go and specify position of road sign and in which direction you'd like it to face. Right click this time and select quit. Let's see what a render refresh looks like. If you go to your plan view, you have the option to shift the symbol, as some of our clients have requested this. Once you've shifted it and it's still selected, you can go to Properties and go and specify an arrowhead size. An arrowhead has been updated. Letting go of the selection set and then changing my zoom view in the render. The traffic light is offset from the support post. This is so that you can go and insert additional traffic lights. So going back to Signage, and this time I'm going to select a S11P signal. Because we're using the same post, I can remove the number of supports in this case and click on OK. Once again, specify the position of the road sign. I'm going to use the existing post and then specify the direction. Done with that, right click and quit. Get in a render refresh. This time I'm going to simply press L on the keyboard to update the lighting settings. And don't forget, with this new signage module, you have additional options when you export to IFC or BIM. Civil Designer still gives you the option to export all the roads or individual roads and then completely switch off road signs, markings, and linear road furniture. The list of schema or formats to export to is still growing. Selecting the IFC Properties tab, you'll see there's additional sign, linear road furniture, and marking options. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Civil Designer's new signage module. I hope you enjoyed watching this webinar as much as I enjoyed presenting it to you. Please feel free to send any additional questions that you may have. Until next time, cheers for now. Back to you, Charles.
Wow, Cameron. I'm just thinking of the amount of time the signage module's quantity report will save. Thank you again, Cameron. That was great. And thank you, Cassandra, and our industry partners for the time and effort that went into developing this new module. And of course, thank you very much to all of you who attended our new module launch webinar today. Please remember, if you would like any further information or assistance with regards to our new 9th Civil Designer module, the signage module, please use the email address listed on your screens right now, or contact us telephonically. Please also remember, we'll be posting a video copy of this webinar in our website's webinar section very shortly. And we'll also be doing our very best to get the FAQ videos posted as soon as possible. Finally, please follow us on LinkedIn, where we have now surpassed 5,000 followers for weekly updates covering client showcases, civil designer related industry news, and new civil designer software video tech tips. Once again, thank you very much for your time today. Have a great afternoon, weekend, and goodbye for now.